Hello all of you little demons, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, back again with another episode of the awesomely named and awfully hosted Tues Your Own Adventure, the weekly medieval themed format where I, the crown Jules of WhatCulture.com, take a list chosen by you, yes you the person who has just been told by their employer that they're getting a fancy new 4K camera. And I'm actually a bit worried, not only because you'll be able to see the cracks in my horrible visage, but also the amount of cat hair that I just have on all of my clothing at all time. Yes, you get to decide what list I dole out to you each and every week. And this week we have none other to thank than Not Productive Productions. Sounds pretty productive. For their suggestions of video games that are the best, the ultimate, when they are on the hardest difficulty. And when it comes to video games, there are very few things that people can actually agree on. We argue about which titles are the best, which consoles deserve our love and support, and of course, for some strange few, they will choose to die on a hill for the right to tell people what difficulty mode that people should play their games on. That's gonna be me today. Even though, technically, I don't believe in trying to chastise people for choosing different difficulty settings. I am very much of the mantra that as long as you're enjoying a game, I couldn't care less what you play it in, because I want there to be as many difficulty modes available for every type of gamer to make sure that even those that are less skilled or less able to play games are able to enjoy games to the same extent as those that want the crushing hard difficulty. But today, I'm going to be that guy and say, these games are best when played on the hardest difficulty. So come join me as I'm Jules. This is WhatCulture.com, and these are 7 video games that are the best when played on the hardest difficulty. And you know the drill by now. Say hi to me here over in the live chat and pop your suggestions for next week's episode down in the comment section below. Now let's get on with that list, shall we? Number 7, Resident Evil 7 Madhouse Mode. Now, going into Resident Evil 7 for the first time truly is a special experience. I'm going to milk that tiny cow, or give it a chef's kiss. I don't know which one I'm doing here. Mwah, chef's kiss, because it was so utterly different to that which had come before. I mean, let's face it, Resident Evil 6 was a game that had the Resident Evil 6 IP attached to it, but it left fans feeling where the hell Capcom was going to take the franchise from this point onward, and they responded with, first person, mate, right up in your grill, let's go, come on, me and you, sploink! As you moved from creepy location to creepy location, avoiding the mold and the Baker family and all of their terrifying forms, it felt like Resident Evil was evolving right in front of your eyes, especially in VR, where it was actually impossible to look away from the gore and viscera. Thanks, I hate it. And it seems that evolution was key to Resident Evil 7's core message, as when the player completes their first run of the game and unlocks Madhouse mode, things aren't quite what they first seem. To those expecting enemies with jumped up health pools and fewer resources, well, they got a rather chilling surprise when it turned out that Madhouse mode also altered enemy spawn locations as well as changing puzzles and key item locations. In addition, Jack would now spawn in more places, meaning that any safe havens that you relied on in previous runs were now out of commission. As a result, Madhouse mode wasn't just a new challenge, it was effectively a new experience, making for a revitalizing sorbet. But the sorbet is made of blood and guts and horrible, disgusting stuff. Refreshing. Number 6, Alien Isolation Nightmare Mode. So when it comes to Alien Isolation, I can't really decide what scared me the most. Was it the xenomorph who was hunting me down as I crawled through all of those desperate air ducts as I was frantically trying to escape the claustrophobic confines of the giant space station that I was on? Or whether it was upon completing the game for the first time that I found out the devs were going to launch a brand new update that was going to include an incredibly challenging new difficulty mode? Actually, I know which one the answer is. It's clearly obvious it's the latter one, because seriously, it made my stomach drop through my bloody shoes. Yes, this absolute confidence stomper of a difficulty mode was called Nightmare Mode. And while adding in new features such as an even more aggressive xenomorph, even more scarcer resources, it also brought the charming addition of your bioscanner being unreliable and feeding you false information sometimes. And all of this combined should have seen me perform the hardest of passes on this mode, but actually, if I'm being honest, it is the best way to play this game for one simple reason. It now finally feels like a true horror film. While the Xenomorph was truly terrifying the first few times that you came toe-to-tail with it on the base experience, by the end you had enough flamethrowers and power-ups to brush off at least a few of its attacks and then just waltz on out of the door. Here though, it was a battle of wits that was as intense in the opening hour as it was in the closing one. The rogue tech definitely can be annoying sometimes, but it forces you to listen and react better, and makes the most of the binaural audio that this title touts as a key feature. Now, my life has been shortened immensely by the panic and heart attacks that this new mode gave me, but I wouldn't trade it for a single second. That's a lie, I definitely would. I want that time back, please. Number 5, Devil May Cry 3, Heaven or Hell mode. Now, as we all know, there are some video games out there that take the concept of a super duper hard mode and use it to pummel the player into the ground like a fleshy tent peg, and as a result, it does lead you to ask the question of who's actually getting enjoyment out of this, because it's not us, so it must be the devs that are just laughing, pointing and laughing, going, yeah, that is pretty tough, mate. Yet there is one absolutely mad lad of a difficulty mode that was at once crushingly hard and hilariously funny, and it came in the form of Devil May Cry 3's Heaven and Hell mode. And how does it manage to do this, I hear you ask? Well, everything, including you, dies in one hit. After slogging through the game's other hard-as-nails modes, this feels like both a reward and a punishment for all of your hard work, as now Dante can dish out the pain but also get absolutely shattered by even basic enemies over and over. It's incredibly cathartic to topple once mighty bosses in just a single blow, and that feeling you get from styling and profiling your way through these sections is an unparalleled power fantasy. And because you can be sent 6 feet deep by just a single hit, it means that you have to enter this kind of zen-like state of playing the game perfectly, meaning that this just isn't the perfect way to play the game, but it turns you into the perfect player as well. Should have included this on last week's list, thinking about it. Number 4, any rhythm game. Now, to say that I was obsessed with Guitar Hero and Rock Band when they first came out is kind of like saying that Motorhead was a little bit loud, aka a massive understatement. In fact, if I'm coming to terms with myself, then I would wager that I would have walked out of my first and second years at university with much higher scores had these games not existed, as I spent so much time with both franchises that I ended up tapping drum patterns during my lectures. And remember, I don't play drums. I play, what was it you were playing last week, James? The harp? However, one of the lessons that I learned quickly about these titles is that playing on anything less than expert mode, well, kind of truly sucked. Now, this isn't a slight at those who enjoy playing on lower difficulties, but seeing as I'd memorized each and every song on pretty much every title's playlist, attempting to complete a board with fewer notes than that being played threw my internal rhythm out completely. It felt wrong to see scores of notes being missed out on well-known solos or iconic riffs just being boiled down to the bare minimum, and while expert modes on some titles have been accused of also missing out a note or two here and there, and in some cases adding in more notes than the real-life equivalent, these truly feel like the best methods for getting the full, I should really start learning this instrument experience. Number 3, Fallout New Vegas Hardcore Mode. So if you ask any true and blue pig iron on their hip Mojave wasteland warrior what wakes them up in the morning like a sunset sarsaparilla enema, then they will say without a shred of hesitation, Hardcore Mode, partner. Oh, and by the way, you can keep that star bottle cap now that I know what you've done with the just you can keep that. But what makes Hardcore Mode such a brilliant and still a punishing experience is that it takes everything that Fallout is known best for and doubles down on it, baby! And by this I mean that it focuses on player immersion, and instead of injecting all of the... Great, I've just realised what I've written here in my script. James, he's going to come and try and punch me in the face. Can you just put up like a wall or something here so at least we can try and stop him for a little bit so I can just get through this sentence? Cheers, mate. Thank you very much. Cheers. Here we go. And instead of injecting all of the Beefgate's enemies with a mass of bullet spongy steroids, instead turns its attention to the player themselves. By making bullets contribute to your weight limit, by only allowing HP to be restored through healing items and not just through sleeping off a concussion. Don't try that at home. And by having hunger and thirst levels become part of the experience, you start to view the Mojave in a totally different light. Whereas before you were traipsing through a wild but ultimately desolate world, here you were moving frantically between locations in order to scavenge food, and each footstep into the desert was to invite death, not only from the more aggressive wildlife, but also from the environment itself. Oh yeah, and also your companions can permanently die. Oh, talk about just throwing acid onto some non-healing wounds. Cheers for that. I love playing New Vegas on this mode, and arguably it makes the best Fallout game ever somehow even better. Number 2, Mario Kart 200cc. Mario Kart, the true test of a friendship. This is a weapon of mass deletion when it comes to your contacts list. Because it's been proven time and time again, even your day ones will be more than happy to shove a shell up your tailpipe if it will grant them even a shot at victory. It's also one of the best multiplayer experiences going, with Nintendo going above and beyond when it came to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and its DLC, because this is some of the slickest arcade racing action that you can get your grubby paws on, and it's one that only gets better the faster you go. While initially daunting beyond all rational belief when you first give it a crack, 200cc is the peak of what Mario Kart truly is. It's relentlessly quick, to the point that you actually have to use the brakes from time to time. I know, they have brakes in this game? Something which often can't be said of the slower speeds, and you will need to become one with your kart in order to make it around even one lap. Add in AI that finally seems to have woken up from a long slumber, and you have a challenge that swings from bullshit to batshit at a moment's notice. And number 1, God Hand. Normal mode. Now I know what you're thinking. You're about to relentlessly fire up your keyboard by typing normal mode on a list that is exclusively about super hard difficulty modes. Jules, what are you thinking, you stupid flesh bag? Well, before you light up your environment with the sound of mechanical clacking, please give me a moment to explain. For while normal mode isn't actually God Hand's most extreme difficulty, its approach to difficulty as a whole is so wildly refreshing that even the vanilla experience is a sorbet for the soul. You see, in this wildly over-the-top and downright off-the-wall title, God Hand presents players with an adaptive difficulty mechanic, meaning that the more damage you dish out without taking any yourself, the harder the game gets. As such, even on normal mode, getting it up to level 6, which is hilariously just called die mode, can make for a punishing and rewarding time in equal measure. Finding the zen of combat and flowing through enemies and unleashing special moves just at the right time feels all the more rewarding when the game looks to be sweating buckets just trying to keep up with you. It's like a friendly rivalry between you and the devs of one-upmanship that feels right at home in a long-form anime series, and because normal mode lets you build to that crescendo of chaos, unlike hard mode that just locks you at die difficulty, makes the challenge feel earned as well as supremely satisfying to keep up. And there we go, my friends. Those were 7 video games that were the absolute best at their absolute hardest difficulty. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below, and put your suggestions for next week's episode down there as well, because I love to read all of your lovely comments, my friends. Big up to you. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. Hope you're treating yourself with love and respect, my friends, because you deserve all of the best things in life, all right? And don't let anything or anyone else tell you otherwise. I know I say this a lot, but I truly, truly mean it. Just be kind to yourself, please. For it's just the best possible thing to just be nice to yourself. It's difficult sometimes. Trust me, I know that one, but you deserve all of the best things, all right? You do. You really, really do. Now go out there and absolutely smash it today. I believe in you. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.